This is not the video I wanted to make. I wanted to make a video on the rise and decline of literacy with the middle class. And I will definitely be making that video when I have more mental stability. But my mother passed away 3 weeks ago, and I am eyeballs deep in memorial planning and dealing with everything that goes into someone who had not put their affairs in order, while also having an 8-month-old baby myself. So this video isn't the video I wanted to make. It's the video I need to make for anyone out there who either has experienced this grief or wants to understand grief better. It honestly feels like I'm walking a line between a shadow realm and the land of the living. It feels wrong to move forward with life and to continue on with career, hobbies, anything like that, being out in public. It feels weird. It feels wrong. And yet it also isn't healthy to live in the shadows and to dwell on the past. But thinking of a future that my mom doesn't get to experience or be a part of also feels pretty impossible. And my coping mechanism is reading. And there's this book that just came out that really dealt with it in a beautiful way. And that is Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. I know she wrote this book at a low point in her career. I'm not sure if she was also grieving, but it felt like it, because these two characters who are fated, I won't give spoilers, but fated to murder each other after falling in love for eternity by the time they're 18 years old. And you're seeing their multiple lives. It's honestly very similar to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue as far as like the premise goes, if you're familiar with that, where you get to kind of experience that yearning for living and that yearning for life while also constantly being stuck with this mentality of there's something missing in life that is not allowing me to live it to its fullest potential, and that is causing a stumbling block to actually enjoying life, because that's constantly on my mind. You see that with Addie LaRue and the fact that she lives forever, essentially, but can't be remembered, can't really leave her mark. She's trying to leave her mark. You see that in that these two intertwined lives constantly try and leave their mark, constantly try to remember their loved ones from previous lives. They are grappling with their previous life, their previous lives 1,000 years ago, what is currently happening, what the future holds. One who can't really remember why they're killing each other constantly. Evelyn, continues to grapple with, I want to live past 18. I yearn for life. And that's honestly how I've been feeling, is I have appreciated life so much more now that I feel this sense of a piece of me missing. And it's this internal war of, how is it that I feel so deeply the beauty while simultaneously feeling so deeply the chaos? And that is something that you can't really wrap your head around. At least I can't right now. Maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year, maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years. Everyone I've talked to says when you lose a parent or a child or someone that is that close to you, I mean, assuming you had a good relationship, everyone's grief is different. There is no right way to grieve. that it doesn't get better. You just grow around it. You learn how to live with the space inside of you. And it is, in its own way, a Pandora's box. And that is not something that I would wish on anyone, and yet everyone will eventually feel this in some respect, because the whole point of living is to love and to allow people to get close to you. But in letting people get close to you, you're opening yourself up to this pain. The second book that I am still currently reading is The 7-Year Slip. And I love Ashley Poston. Dead Romantics was incredible. I highly recommend that one as well. But this one, the main character has lost her aunt, who was her best friend. And she is refusing to let people in. She's refusing to take a break, to rest, to have fun, because the way that her grief has manifested is, I'm not going to be okay if I open myself up to feeling this hurt. And that's kind of where I'm at right now too, is that almost denial phase of grief. It hits the guilt of, could I have done more? Could I have helped her more in our flawed medical system? There's always going to be the anger, the guilt, the bargaining, right? But that denial phase, nobody tells you that the 5 stages of grief can all hit at the same time, simultaneously, in their own plane. And it's like your body is feeling 5 different emotions at the same time, separately. It's the weirdest thing. But that denial of, if I just don't think about it, either this isn't real, or if I just don't think about it, then I'll be okay. And trying to move past this chaotic time where I'm having to essentially take care of 2 lives separately, and I have been for the past 4 months. It is that feeling of, if I don't rest, if I don't open myself up to life, then I won't open myself up to the experience of getting hurt. And I completely can understand that. The 7-Year Slip is this girl who inherits her aunt's apartment, and in that apartment is magic, where you get to experience something that happened in that apartment 7 years in the past. And she meets this other character who, obviously the romantic interest, who is so full of zeal and life that it forces her to confront, hey, I used to have joy. I used to enjoy life. Doing new things scares me because I don't know what to expect, with the potential for hurt and downfall if I open myself up to new experiences versus doing the same thing every day. That is something that is very real with the grief that I'm experiencing, and it might be very real with some of the grief that you've experienced in the past, or you have a friend who's experienced it. And feeling safe to be able to let in some light, to be able to let in some joy, to have that community around you with that zest that helps pull you back to the land of the living. When I had to tell my mom's friends that she had passed, the number one thing that I would tell her friends, especially those who were elderly and couldn't make it to her memorial, were, life is for the living. That means that those who've passed, whatever you believe spiritually about where they are or what they're doing, that they're with us, that they're happier, it doesn't change that they're gone, and that their life is no longer for their living. We cannot live for them. We cannot live through them. It is for our life. And if they cared about us at all, they would want us to be happy and to move on with living. And yes, we're always going to hold them with us, but life is for the living. We cannot hold on to the past. I mean, that is basically what PTSD is having something so traumatic that your brain glitches and you can't let it go. And so you have to replay it and relive it and live in the past until your brain is able to somehow cope with it. That's a very simplified explanation of PTSD, but that is the gist of it. Grief is like that, in that we're constantly being reminded throughout our days of something that drags us back to the past or the person that we lost. And you can experience this with more than just a loved one who's passed on. This is, a best friend who's no longer your friend, like that hurt that comes up. The Two Lives of Lydia Bard, I think I'll have it on the screen, but that book I read back in 2020, and at the time I had not lost anyone who was this close to me, and I was fully capable of coping in healthy ways at that point. And so I saw it as a beautiful love story. I saw it as a multi-layered, beautiful story, but I didn't fully understand or comprehend the complexity of the grief that the author was describing. That book follows I believe, widow, and she has met someone new, but in her dreams at night, she falls asleep and she is living with her husband and life has continued on as normal. But during the day, she has met someone new and is starting to fall in love and feels very guilty and conflicted by that, because she is loyal to this dreamlike state in which she lives in this shadow world and she is very much paralleling those two lines of the shadows and the living, is just the best way I can describe it. But she is living happily with her husband, and in the daytime she wakes up and reality washes over her again, and she just wants to crawl right back into bed and live essentially in the past. And I don't blame her at all for that, because it's so easy to just want to crawl into bed, cover your head, and just live in those moments that you had with your loved one. And it's very hard to get up every day and do the same things over and over and have experiences that they will never know about. Watch your child grow up and almost hit send on a video to them and realize all over again that they will never see your daughter's first steps. Like I said, this is the video I wanted to make, but it's the video I needed to make, because sometimes it feels very lonely to lose someone that close to you. I mean, my mom, it's your mom. And I know this isn't the case for everyone, but for me, that was the person who loved me unconditionally. And I knew that. We didn't always get along, but I knew that she loved me unconditionally. And she always had my back. That was my ride or die. And it feels very lonely to lose that, in spite of the fact that I have a family, in spite of the fact that I'm happily married to my best friends. Like, it still leaves an empty space in your heart. It feels like suddenly you're invisible, because the one person who knew you the most, who cared for you throughout your entire life, who loved you no matter what, is gone. And because they can no longer see you, suddenly you feel like a much smaller version of yourself. Thank you for listening. I think that it's very cathartic to be able to express your emotions, and it's hard to be vulnerable and do that online, but I need people who are going through grief, whatever type of grief it is. It doesn't even have to be a loved one passing. that you're not alone, and that these experiences are what bring us together as a community. You see it in literature over and over and over again. And if reading fantasy, not self-help, but fantasy is your coping mechanism, then these books really touched me, and I hope they do you as well. And I hope that you know that I'm proud of you. Whatever you're going through, I'm proud of you.